Well, hey there everybody, this is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and today I am pulling out all the stops. That's right folks, I'm pulling out all the stops. What are you talking about, Mike? That's probably what you're asking me. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about small hive beetles. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to Southeast Louisiana. It is a beautiful, beautiful, like 58 degrees right now and dropping. We've got some nice cool weather. We have freezing at nights, close to freezing. Some nights not, some nights yes, here and there. So it's a beautiful winter day for us. And I got to go back in that colony that had those small hive beetles. I am truly concerned about that colony, folks. Here's the deal with that thing. It was a strong single, very strong single. And so, you know, it got treated in, when I treated after pulling supers and everything, so that was probably August. We got treatments on everybody. That one actually did get the full dose of Hop Guard, both treatments. Then it went into winter, and right as winter was getting started, I blasted it with oxalic acid 2 weeks in a row, 6 days apart. You know, I don't open them much. I still find no reason to, but there's nothing I can do if I open them. I can't tell if they're sick. I can only treat them and check for mites. I did a mite count on that one, and I don't remember that mite load being that high in that particular colony, but that's not to say they weren't. But here's the deal. It has dwindled to 5 frames, and it was a strong 10 frame. Now, bees will dwindle, and they'll begin to grow this month, going into next month, into March, then finally ready to split, or that one, in that case, put a double deep on it, or a second deep. But it dwindled a lot. That is concerning, and beetles know weak hives. When I opened the lid, there were a lot of beetles. That was just simply put fondant on a single. So that was a few days ago on Friday, which was maybe 3 days ago, 2 days ago. Today is the 23rd, and I'm just a bit concerned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try every single treatment. Well, treatment's a bad word. Let me stop. I'm going to try every single little thing that's out there to combat these. I usually don't combat small hive beetles mechanically, except for maybe the beetle blasters, those little oil traps. I've used those in the past, and they're successful. They're good, but they're just a pain. And the way I deal with small hive beetles is with strong hives. Well, this is not a strong hive, and I have no opportunity to strengthen this hive, this colony. Strong colonies combat small hive beetles. We'll get into that in a little bit, but that's what we have to do. So that, and I reduce space, empty space that is. That one might have to go into a 5 frame nuke, but we're going to open it up. We're going to see what's happening, and I'm going to show you the different things I'm going to use. I'm going to use them all. I'm going to try them all. Something to at least knock down the count so the bees can stay ahead of the beetles. That's the key. Too many beetles, we produce too many eggs, which produce too many larvae for the bees to contain. So if you can contain the amount of beetles laying eggs, you can contain the larvae. That's how I understand it. That's how I've always done, and that seems to be the trick to beetles. Let's go out there and see what we can figure out. All right folks, we're here at the colony. If you didn't see the last video, or you're new to the channel, I'll put the link up in the corner of the screen. You can link back to that video. It's my last video, but we put some fondant on. I saw a lot of beetles, so I need to check the fondant. I haven't had a problem. I was asked if I had a problem with beetles laying in the fondant. I have not. Last season when I used fondant, I did not have that problem. But the problem I do have is that I put a shim in here, and that's more space once again for the small colony to guard. So if they're still going, then we'll put these mechanical preventative measures in and see if that helps. If it don't, we may have to reduce them on the next warm day we have. It's warm each day. If I can get home in time from work, it's warm enough to do something. But once it cools down into the 50s, I don't want to tear it open and switch it. I will if I have to, but I think we got some warm days coming. So let's see what's inside here. I actually want to get a good idea of what we have for bees in here, and I'm going to show you the different. Let's look for beetles. Well, there's the bees. I don't expect them to have messed with the Hive Alive much because they're so small, so much smaller than I thought. Didn't see not one beetle here. I didn't get many smoke. Let's count frames. There's one that's half full on one side, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, five full frames. I don't see any beetles running around, but that won't deter me, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use 3 different things here. I get asked all the time whether I have tried peppermint. I have, folks. I tried it. Here's what I found with it. I found that I put it in hive number 5, which is a colony that always seemed to have a lot of beetles. And they did, I'm gonna tell you, there was a reduction in the amount of beetles. This only has 9 frames, so I can't put them exactly in the corners or they'll fall through. I saw a reduction with the peppermint. Now, I don't know for sure whether we do have a bit of a reduction toward the end of the spring going into the summer, and so maybe that was the case. I don't know whether that's the wrong time frame. So we have an explosion usually in March, and it's not an explosion, it just has a lot of beetles. I think that's what comes out of winter with them. Then they seem to go down, and then in summertime, of course, then they explode. So kind of like middle to the end of spring, we see them begin to dwindle. And that's about the same time I put the peppermints in. So did they work? I don't know, but I did see a reduction. Now, why didn't I keep using them? Because at the time, in the peak of the season, I usually have 40 to 50 hives, and to have to go in every time and pull that top box to get peppermints in there was getting to be too much. It wasn't practical for me, and that's why I've told everybody that's asked me that I think there was a chance they did work for sure, and people are having success. You know, Bob, Walker Bee Ranch, he's having success. He had success. Of course, Earl's the one that started this whole trend. He definitely had success, so I'm not gonna sit there and tell you it don't work. What I'm gonna tell you is, you see peppermints on there and I'm giving it a shot, because why? I'm pulling out all the stops, folks. And there's the other stop I'm also making sure I'm putting on Swiffer sheets. Everybody asks me if I've used these before. I have. I've caught a lot of bees in them too, so that's why I don't care for them. I'm only gonna put half of one in there. Those do scare me, because of a queen possibly getting in them. But now that it's cluster time, in most of the times, I'm not too concerned. We might be all right. She won't be up here coming through there, hopefully. So I have tried them, and I'm gonna tell you, I've had mixed success, and mostly it's been less than desirable. Let me put it that way. I haven't had great success with the Swiffers. It's caught some beetles. What I've had the best success with are these types of beetle traps that I just overfilled, so I have to be very careful with it. Now, the beetle blasters have worked. I have actually put these in colonies before, and I have seen them when I've seen a lot of beetles with no traps. I've put them in and went in a week or 2 later, and they've been tons of beetles in them. I've had mixed results with these too, but more good results than bad. Problem is, they're a pain in the backside. But these are the knockoffs, and I gotta tell you, I'm not super thrilled with these knockoffs. I don't think they worked. There's something about them that doesn't seem to work as well. Now, what could that be? I don't know. Is it maybe something to do with what they have to do to get around the pattern that's on the beetle blasters? Are the ridges too big? Are the holes a different size? I don't know. I really don't. They just don't seem to work. But it's all I got right now, so they're going in. So, yes, only kind of trap I don't have is that black one that people put roach poison in, and I'm not putting roach poison in my hives. But I wouldn't mind getting those black traps and putting diatomaceous earth in them. Diatomaceous earth has not been good for me in these at all whatsoever. Not at all. It clumps up in the humidity, and then what it'll do is it also will, the beetles will die in it, but the problem is, as they die, they don't sink like in the oil. They just stack up on top of the diatomaceous earth, and next thing you know, you have a bunch of beetles crawling around on top of dead beetles, and they don't die. They just hide in there. Still better than nothing, but I want them dead. Dead. What I'll say about what I'm seeing here on my new to me GoPro 4 is a lot nicer cluster than I thought I had. Actually, they're spaced out. They're only on half that frame, They're spaced out to half of this frame, so it is a true 5, but they're populated really well. I'm not going to pull the faunet up. They're probably not eating much of it. It's a small colony. I don't even feel that it's gone that much, but it's there for them. Peppermints are there. Swiffers are there. Beetle blasters are there, or knockoff beetle blasters. And that's all we can do. Mechanical trapping. And peppermint is supposed to repel them. So let's see what happens. We'll put our spacer back on. Alright, that's good. Well folks, not much else to say on that, except that I was happy when I pulled it open to see no beetles. Wow, compared to the 20 I saw early on. The cluster, because I didn't smoke them, was up top good. That's nice. So the cluster looked thick and well, and this colony has a lot of weight, so they may not be touching the faunet. Don't expect there to be a lot on the faunet because they are smaller, but no beetles. Did not see one. That's great. Maybe I killed them all. Maybe that was what was clustered when I opened it. They all blew up and I killed them, and gave the bees a chance to get ahead of them. That's the key, is getting ahead of the beetles. If they can do that, they can maintain the space. So the cluster looked good, no beetles, but I still put in every single trap I can. The Swiffers always make me nervous. But every one of those people have asked me about trying, and I have tried the Swiffers and the peppermints. I told you about the peppermints. The Swiffers I've tried, not that great for me, and yet I got people in the same area and everything that use them and have great success. So I don't know what it is, but I'm trying them again, because what I don't want is this to fail. I'd really rather not move it into a nuke, because if it's healthy and it's going to grow, it's only a month away from time to really be growing big. I love to grow out of singles. And this is theoretically is a nuke, but still, I don't want to have to reduce it just to bring it back into a 10 frame in a month if it is healthy. So if it's healthy, let's give them a chance and let's try and catch these beetles before they get big. But as we saw, not a lot of beetles. So I'm pleased with what I saw, more pleased than I saw the other day. And I told you in the other video, you weren't seeing a lot of bees. I promise you they were in there. They were in there. I smoked them heavy because it was nasty, rainy, thundery, cool, overcast weather, and I didn't want to get, I put a veil on both days because I didn't want to get bees in my face. I didn't know how bad they were going to be, so I pushed them down. Because sometimes when I just disturb my bees out of the clear blue in the winter, which is rare, they tend to get a little ornery. So there we go. So very quickly, let's talk about the beetle situation, small hive beetles, and what I know about them and what I have learned about them. Now, we didn't see any, and it could be that they're down in a cluster. Although it was the same temperature the other day and they came everywhere, and they were moving slow though because it was cool, they were everywhere. So that's promising, but it could be that they're hiding. So we've still got some mechanical interventions. That's the word I've been looking for the whole video, mechanical interventions. We've got them in there, we've got them in place, and then we have the repellent of the peppermint. I thought about putting it on the edges of the nest, but then again, the beetles are going to go to the outer parts of the nest where the bees can't contain them, so maybe that'll push them in. They can cluster them, hold them in a beetle jail of some sort, who knows, run them into the traps. That's what the traps are for. So we'll see, but beetles could be hiding in there. I know good and well when I said maybe I killed them all, I know I didn't kill them all, but there's still some in that cluster for sure. But what I meant was, if I killed enough to knock a few back and just give them a little bit of, give the bees a little bit of an advantage, maybe that'll help them. But here's the deal with small hive beetles. This is what I was saying, what I've learned over the years from both researchers and experience, and a lot of reading, not in forums or anything like that, but in, you know, reputable publications. And that is, all right, first and foremost, there's no cure to kill them outside of drenching the soil, which I do, to kill the larvae that pupate. And there used to be, I don't know if it's still around, but checkmite was a miticide that you could also use for small hive beetles. You placed it inside a chloroplast type of sign, or you tacked it underneath one and flipped it. I forget how exactly it worked, but how you placed it. But checkmite was a bona fide killer of the beetles. But nobody really uses checkmite. It's one of those very harsh chemicals. I forget the active ingredient, but you don't see it much. But that was a other one. Other people can kill them with roach poison, but we discussed that. It's not going to my hive for now, so I don't put it in there. I'm not bashing anybody that does. Don't get me wrong on any of that. Everybody does their bees. I do mine. You do yours. And that gets me to what I've learned. Now, why I'm not telling you this is how it is, because this is just what I've learned. That's why I say this isn't a how-to video, because I'm still learning so much. We're going into 11 years of beekeeping now, and I'm still learning. So it's not like that's why I won't do a how-to, because there's so much I still don't know, and still many things I've learned. And there's things I do know and things I have worked, but I'm very inconsistent with stuff because I'm a hobby guy, and you know. So anyway, I do different things different here and there. But what I do know about beetles is this. I hear people all the time, and you probably heard many people saying the beetles killed my hive, beetles killed my hive, beetles got my hive. They got your hive, but they didn't kill your hive, your colony. They finished it off. If that colony, which was treated, was already sick, it don't matter how many mites were in it, if it already had enough viruses vectored from the mites, it was sick, it's going to die. I can treat them all day long, it's going to die. Doesn't matter. It's just going to dwindle because the sickness is already in the bees. But when you have high mite loads, of course, that's why we try and get the mites off of them. You know, if the mites aren't transmitting viruses, and we can kill them off as they, you know, before they can, we can stop that. But mites is a whole nother discussion. But why I say that is we raise strong bees and strong colonies, and there's hundreds and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of bees in there. We're raising mites too, and when we raise mites, we raise the chance for viruses, which make the hive dwindle. Why do I say all that about the mites? Because if the hives dwindle down and they become sickly, that's when the hive beetles come in. Something happens. I've heard so many people say, yeah, but it was my strongest hive, the beetles killed it. No, they didn't. They were opportunists that took advantage of a colony that died down. It weakened somehow or another, and it can happen fast. It can happen really fast sometimes. So sometimes we don't catch it when they're, or we see them and we don't realize that, oh wow, that half those bees aren't there between those two boxes. Maybe that's it. But the bottom line is, those beetles didn't kill the colony. They won't be the thing that killed that colony if it was to be overtaken. It would be because they weakened up for whatever reason. Although I'm happy with what I saw. So there you go. That's my little tidbit on mites. On beetles being opportunists, and we'll hear it again and again. They killed my hive. They killed my hive. They killed my hive. How do I prevent from killing my hive? Strong colonies. And all the experts will tell you that. Strong colonies. A strong colony that is healthy, and however they are healthy, whether they're hygienic bees or whatever they may be, and they keep the mites down and they keep the sicknesses down by keeping the mites down, and we keep them down by keeping the mites down, why then that strong colony, it can ward off beetles. It can live with beetles. I had one that lived years and years, and beetles aren't what got it. It lived probably, I had that colony probably 6 years. Number one it was. And it would go up and down, made honey every year. It lived with beetles the entire time. When it finally got weak, I think it got sick and it wasn't treated in time. I believe that's what got it. And when it dwindled down, the beetles got it. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on beetles. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it wasn't meant to be a how-to. That's just what I know about them and wanted to pass that on. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate all y'all's support. Appreciate you for joining me. I sure hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week, and may God bless y'all. We'll see y'all later.